Alrighty, welcome everybody to Doug's Dugout, episode number 8. And today, like every weekend, we've got Doug, the guru of gurus for the RGV when it comes to the MLB, to Apple, and to cycling. He is the Valley's Lance Armstrong, and he's back to give us a rundown of the MLB and his beloved Redbirds. I know he's probably not happy about his Redbirds right now, but Doug, welcome back.
Hey, I'm glad to be back.
All righty, Doug. So what happened? What
Always a
happened?
pleasure.
What happened with these Redbirds? Did they survive?
Well, a buzzsaw last weekend. We went in the friendly confines of Chicago
Yeah,
and lost all our games there. Okay. And
yeah,
then we moved on to Arizona, and we did pretty good in Arizona. We won a couple games there.
yeah.
The guys played pretty good. Now we're back playing on Bush Stadium, as you can see by the TV screen. And we've started Thursday night and we've lost every game till then. Have not looked good at all, and but we're winning today so
So what do
far.
you think? What do you think happened with that losing streak this past week?
Well, I think what happened was the Cubs are just got really hot.
Yeah,
Um, they was a seller on the trading deadline, just like the Cardinals, but now they've pretty much announced that they're not going to trade anybody. They picked up a free agent for a 1 year contract, guy named Cody Bellinger. He's played for the Dodgers, and he's been on fire. And he would be a good guy to trade, right?
right.
But they said no, they're going to trade him.
Wow.
So so anyway, they but the Cubs have been, we just had a buzzsaw. The Cubs are playing good ball. Cardinals, we just don't have any pitching.
Yeah.
We've got, you know, the other night, Mikolas was in a game and he threw like the second pitch or the second out, and he hit the ball. The first pitch, I think, hit the batter, and when the batter come around and hit our catcher in the head with the
Wow.
bat. Okay. And he had to leave the game. And so the next batter came up and Mikolas drilled him. Okay. Drilled him right in the butt. Well, then here it comes. Here comes the fight scene. And Mikolas got thrown out of the game, the Cardinal pitcher, and the manager got thrown out. And Mikolas got a 5 game suspension, and Marmol got a 1 game suspension, which I think he should have got a 3 month or the next 2 months of suspension. That way he wouldn't be back. But um, so, and then it's just been like that. Pitching, no relief pitching at all.
Wow.
Um, it's pretty sad.
Wow. Well, that's not good, Doug. That definitely.
Well, there's all kinds of rumors going around St. Louis that, there for a while was going to be Goldschmidt was going to be traded.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it turned around. It was going to be Flaherty was going to be traded to Los Angeles, and because he wants to go to the West Coast and he's from Los Angeles. Then it was Arenado that they were going to trade him to Los Angeles, and Arenado's from Los Angeles.
Right.
And then they came out and they said, no, we're not going to trade Arenado or Goldschmidt.
Wow.
And then there's all kinds of rumors, Newt bars, I mean, just a total mess, you know.
Wow. Well,
So we
definitely.
pretty much,
Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, you can pretty much wash this season off for the Redbirds.
Yeah.
The Cubs are coming on strong, though. I mean, they're only 3 games out of first place, as we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow. Wow.
so they've got a really good chance of maybe definitely making the wild card team, and or maybe even winning the division. There's still a
Wow.
lot of baseball to be played.
Wow. All right. Well, let's go ahead and flip over to the scoreboard here. And we've got our virtual iPad up today. And we'll go ahead and look at some of the standings. And obviously, we'll start off with the American League East. Looks like Croston's Baltimore is up on top now.
Yeah, doing a job. Baltimore's a good young, surprising team. They've got some budding superstars that's having a really good year. They're going to be buying some players. I think they're going to be probably buying some pitching here pretty soon so they can do it for the stretch run. So uh, I look for Baltimore to be doing good. I
Yeah.
mean, they're a good team.
And then you've got Tampa Bay there in second place.
Tampa Bay still swinging out of all the teams. I think Tampa Bay's got the best pitching,
Right.
so they've got a really good chance.
Toronto is in third there.
Yeah,
And
Toronto, wild card team most definitely.
yeah.
Um, yeah, um,
And of
think
course you've
maybe
got
in September they might make a roof.
yeah. And then you've got Boston and the Yankees up at the bottom.
Yeah, there's always a big big deal between the Boston and the Yankees, right?
Right.
Well, this year nothing. I look for the Yankees to do a lot of selling. They're going to get rid of some ball players.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course the American League Central you've got your daughter's favorite team, Minnesota. They're in first
Minnesota
place.
got a little lead, game and a half. Um, you know, they'll be okay. I think
Yeah.
they're going to probably stick around the top. And the same thing with Cleveland. It's going to be a dogfight between Cleveland and Minnesota.
Yeah. And then you've got Detroit down in third.
Yeah, I mean, there's a really good chance that Detroit may make that extra wild card team too. You
Yeah.
know, um, they're only 6.5 out. That's nothing,
Yeah.
really, even this time of year.
Yeah. And then you got the White Sox and Kansas City down at the bottom of the barrel there.
White Sox are definitely going to be selling some ball players. I think
Yeah.
probably maybe Tim Anderson
Yeah.
and some other ball players. Lance Lynn. They've got a nice young catcher. I wouldn't mind them having.
Yeah.
I think, and uh, but Kansas City. Well, last week they won three more games. They won three games, so they're up to 31 victories now.
Yeah. Maybe there's hope for them.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. And then of course in the American League West, no surprise there, you still have Texas on top. Looks like Texas and Houston are battling out.
Yeah, Texas made a big trade the last couple of days to boost their pitching. They made a trade with the Mets for Matt Scherzer.
Yeah.
Um, um, he's not having that great of a year this year, but he's still a good pitcher.
Yeah.
He's 39 years old, but he's been known on the stretch drive to pitch pretty good. Not so much in the playoffs, but on the stretch run. So Texas went out and he got one of the premier pitchers of all of baseball,
Right.
and so they're in it for the long run. So it's going to be a battle between Houston and Texas.
Yeah. And then you've got the Angels in third. Did they decide to trade Otani after all? Doesn't Otani play for them?
Yeah, they're going to keep him. They think they have a chance to make the playoffs.
Uh huh.
Okay, so Otani, the other day, what did he do? He pitched, I think, he pitched a shutout for 9 innings, and then he hit a couple homers, and I mean, he's the franchise. People come out and see him play.
Right.
So
Right.
so, but the Angels think they still have a chance to make in the playoffs. So, they do. They're only 5 games out,
Yeah.
5.5 games out.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Yeah. And then you've got Seattle and Oakland down at the bottom.
Yeah, Seattle and Oakland. Seattle's having a very disappointing year. Um, some minor trades with Seattle, I believe, last week, and they're pretty much out of it. And Oakland, what can you say about Oakland? They did win 2 games, though. They've got a couple good young ball players that they'll probably trade off here pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah. And now we shift our focus to the National League. And the National League East, no surprise there. Atlanta's still on top.
Atlanta's on fire, man.
Yeah,
Atlanta's got a good team.
yeah,
I mean, every we've said this many times. Atlanta, every bit of their organization is good.
yeah.
They
And
know
you
how
got,
to do it right.
yeah. And then, of course, you got Philly right behind them.
Way behind Philly.
Yeah,
Went out and spent all that money and didn't really get anything for it.
right.
They had some injury problems this year. Harper was out most of the season, but last year they went to the World Series, and they did pretty good. But I mean, the thing was is that I think it was just like they got hot the last month of the season. Okay, and if you get hot, and then they got really hot in the playoffs. So, but I didn't really too impressed with Philadelphia in the playoffs or the World Series, but they just got hot, and that's what
Yeah,
happens in those series.
yeah. And then, of course, you got Miami right behind them. Equal amount of wins. They're down to, and they're actually just, they've had one more loss than Philly has. Yeah,
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 uh, yeah. Miami's starting to fall back a little bit. They might have. They're probably maybe a year or two away.
yeah,
Okay, so I think it's going to eventually, you know, Philadelphia is going to be in that second spot,
yeah.
and Miami be a fourth, back in third.
And then you've got the New York Mets and Washington down at the bottom
Oh
of that
boy,
league.
the Mets, they spent so much money, and they picked up Matt Scherzer, who now got traded to the Rangers.
Uh,
Okay, and there's probably going to be some more ball players that are going to be traded out of the Mets in order to cut the payroll down.
yeah.
So very disappointed. The people in New York are very, very upset.
I bet they are.
That's that's a Bill O'Reilly team is a Mets.
Oh, well, between the Mets and the Yankees, they've just had a pretty bad baseball year, no doubt about that.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I think they're playing the Subway Series right now. They're playing each other in New York. Yeah, they'll pack them in, but they everybody thought the Yankees. The Yankees, they have to win it every year.
Yeah,
Okay, and they got to be dominant over everybody. You
yeah,
know, and the Mets are, they thought the Mets were going to have a good year, but
yeah.
obviously not.
Yeah, it's a good thing we don't work for our former employer anymore, even though I think they were more Buffalo Bills fans more than anything else.
Well, they're from, yeah. Oh, you got that organization, but the new company,
Yeah.
they're mostly Cleveland, right?
Right, 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 right.
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
about the old guard, not the
The
current
old
guard.
guard, yeah, the old guard. Yeah, a little bit of Detroit in there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt about that.
Yeah, a little bit of Detroit.
And then the Central, you've got Milwaukee up on top.
Yep.
Yep.
Milwaukee, they're playing good ball. I mean, they're
Yeah.
they're, they're doing fine.
Yeah.
Um, don't know if they can stay on top.
Yeah.
I think
Cincinnati's
they're going
right
to go out
behind
and
them.
get a hitter somewhere.
Cincinnati's right
Okay.
behind them, and Chicago's third. You think Chicago will get into second place here?
Cinderella, the Cinderella team of baseball this year.
Yeah.
They've got their managers just got a new 3-year contract yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, David Bell, and he'd been suffering for years with Cincinnati, being in last place and everything. But you know, they, they kept trading away all their good ball players, and but they just kept on building and building and building,
Yeah.
and they brought this kid up to play shortstop for him, and he's having a great year.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And
I
you've
think
got
Cincinnati will make a trade here pretty soon, though.
and then you've got Pittsburgh and your Redbirds down there at the bottom, Doug. You know.
Well, the Cubs are coming on strong, so they got a good chance for that wild card team, and you
Yeah.
can see they're playing good ball. Um, Pittsburgh and St. Louis. Well, the Cardinals are just, you know, they're just going through the motions right now. Every once in a while, you'll see some deal. You know, you watch them every night, and their defense is pretty good, and they're hitting. They get some pretty good hitting, you know, and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're, you know, and there's a couple starting pitchers that can get by, but these pitchers, you know, they only go up to about the sixth inning now.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you got to bring in the relief corps, and you know, every night it's Stratton, um, guy they got from Pittsburgh last year, Stratton, Alante, and Gallegos, and from the kid from Monterey, and they get blasted around then. And then Jordan Hicks, you know, the closer, he's not even pitching,
Yeah.
okay, because they're so far behind in the games that they don't want to use him.
Yeah.
But and Jordan Hicks is another ball player that's supposed to be on the trading line. His uh, his contract's up. He's a free agent, and the rumor is that the Cardinals have tried to negotiate, and they're miles apart on the contract. So they're going to probably try to move him to somebody who needs some pitching help. Um, I would say he might go to Los Angeles because Los Angeles got a really good farm system,
Right.
and but their players, the ones in the farm system's a couple years away. Where Jordan Hicks is still young, but you know, he can help the Dodgers right now to get in.
Right. Right.
Pittsburgh, you know, it was just they were playing over their head for 2 months of the season, and you know, but they'll be back next year.
Yeah. So you think Marmol is a goner after this season?
Yeah, I think he's going to be gone. I think you know the story with Marmol was is that you know the Cardinals had a manager before Marmol. His name was Shelt. He was an old time Cardinal that came up. He never did really play, but he came up through the farm system, so he knew all these ball players really well.
Yeah.
And he'd been in the farm system for like 20 years, 25 years. So they brought him up, and they did very, very well under Shelt. Well, even though the Cardinals won the division and everything and almost made it to the World Series, they fired him about a month after the season.
Yeah.
And the story was it was philosophical differences. Okay. Shelt is kind of old school. You know, everything right now is this sabermetric stuff, right?
Right.
And Shelt's kind of like, okay, that's okay. That stuff is okay. But you still got to manage the ball players, and you got to know what the ball players can do. And a lot of it's the situations you get yourself into on a
Right.
ball game. And the Cardinals wanted to go over to a more, allegedly, they wanted to go over to a more statistical ball team like
Right.
everybody else had been going to. So they fired him. And so Marmol happened to be handy there. He was the bench coach, and he was convenient. So they interviewed him, and everybody liked him, and he's one of those sabermetrics guys too.
Right.
And so they hired him. And 35 years old. I think he's like 36 now. He's really made some bonehead decisions.
Right.
And you could tell it. He, last week he got thrown out of a game, and then Friday night, I think it was Friday night or Thursday night. Thursday night he got thrown out. And so he's stressing,
Yeah.
and I don't think he'll be around. I think they'll probably go out, and Cardinals have a tendency to hire new managers in the farm system.
Right.
Because they hired Marmo, they hired Shelt, and then before that they had Matheny, that was a Cardinal catcher back in the day. But before that, they had Tony La Russa that was there for like 20 years,
Right.
and but there was a different general manager. It's different. Okay, so I think the Cardinals for a manager, as they had the saying, is that I think they like the hometown discount.
Yeah.
So they don't want to pay a whole lot of money for a manager.
Yeah.
If the guy's already there, they go, oh yeah, we'll just promote him within the system.
Right.
Okay, and everybody would be happy. because
Yeah.
we like to promote from within, right? Well, in this particular case, I think the Cardinals need to go out and just get a whole new outlook, in life. I most definitely. I'm surprised he's lasted this long to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Well, looking at the National League West, the Dodgers, no surprise there. They're on top and they're being followed by San Francisco.
Yeah, Dodgers. Every year they're on top.
Yeah.
They got a good system, got a lot of money behind them, and they make do with what they got. Not really. Well, Mookie Betts is having a fantastic year. Mookie Betts is a good ball player. He's played right field for him. He's played second base for him, and I think he's even playing shortstop now or something.
Yeah.
And they move him around, and he's having a career year. So Mookie
Well,
Betts is good, and and uh, you know uh, their pitcher, Kershaw's been injured. Hall of Fame, future Hall of Fame pitcher, but he'll probably be back for the playoffs.
yeah.
And then there are a couple other guys, but they're going to make a deal with somebody.
Now Arizona's not
And
really
then
that far behind either, are they? They're still kind of battling out there too.
well, they kind of hit a bump in the road the last 2 weeks. They lost like 9 games in a row or so. And when the Cardinals came in Arizona last week, they lost. I think they lost 2 out of 3 games.
Ah,
And the Cardinals, they got a young pitcher. They got 2 young pitchers, and one guy's named Gallon that they picked up on the Goldschmidt trade several years ago.
right.
And then they've got another pitcher, and the Cardinals has blasted all of them around pretty good in Arizona.
Wow.
So I'm kind of thinking, I don't think Arizona's got enough horses,
Yeah.
but like I said, they hit kind of a bump in the road the last 2 weeks. They've lost like 9 or 10 games in a row. But no, nobody's caught them, so
Yeah.
they may get back in there. But San Francisco definitely the wonder team of the year because they don't have any superstars on that team.
Yeah.
They don't have it. They just do what they got, and they got a good manager. Gabe Kapler,
Yeah.
um, and he was Gabe Kapler was a player, not a superstar ball player, but he was one of those guys that gave 100% all the time, and he's he's managed good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
San Francisco's doing fine.
That's and then we've got San Diego and Colorado down at the bottom there.
Well, Colorado, they're out of it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Colorado hasn't started making some moves. Like, there's an old time outfielder with him named Charlie Blackman. He looks like Wolfman Jack. Okay, he's got a full head of hair. His hair's down to here and full beard, and he's a good hitter.
Yeah.
He hits good. And when he was younger, he played center field for him. I would think they would be wanting to get something out of him now.
Right.
Okay, but he's a fan favorite there in Colorado, and they just definitely need to rebuild.
Yeah.
And then San Diego, we talked about them last week. San Diego got a lot of superstars. They went out there. Sosa's a free agent this year, so will they be able to sign him or not? I don't know. And then they've got some. They just have had a bad year, San Diego. So I think
Yeah.
it's probably going to be between that wild card slot. It's going to be, the Dodgers are going to win the division. It's going to be a battle between San Francisco and Arizona.
Yeah.
The San Diego fans will be very disappointed.
Yeah, they will be. No doubt about that, Doug. No doubt about that. So do you have any stories for us this week? Anything you can
See,
recollect?
no, I don't think so. Not this week. I was just trying to think of one before our podcast here. Um, Friday night the Cardinals were playing the. I was just, they were playing the Cubs, and it was back and forth, and it looked like the Cardinals were going to win that game, and the Cubs pulled out. There again, the relief corps, killed us.
Yeah.
And so there's a bottom. It was bottom of the ninth, and Burleson was up for the Cardinals, and he hit a fly ball out to dead center. And everybody in the ballpark, and probably everybody on TV, because I thought the ball was gone.
Yeah.
And the Cub center fielder went back and caught the ball.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, the ball is actually out of the park. I mean,
Yeah.
it was actually a home run, but the guy jumped high enough to catch the ball. It's a spectacular catch,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know.
I wish we
And
could actually.
that would have won the that would have tied the game.
Yeah. Well, I wish
So
we
that's
could.
how the season's been going.
Yeah. Well, I wish we could actually show some of those clips, but I'm on constant threat from the YouTube police.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
you know, but
But yeah,
all righty. Well, definitely it was an exciting episode here to get the latest standings on the MLB. As you well know, Doug, we've got a couple of new shows. We've got our NFL show, which is coming up on Wednesday, where we're following the Cowboy training camp. I know you're not an NFL guy, but the rest of Texas is, so we're going to have some updates on
well,
the training camp.
I actually watched the 1978 Oakland Raider game
Yeah,
the other night. It was on Monday Night Football.
yeah,
That's when Monday Night Football was really something they had enhance on YouTube. When the Raiders had Kenny Stabler and Cliff Branch and
yeah,
all the old time Raiders.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've
No, I,
got
I
that.
like the Raiders,
Yeah,
the old Raiders.
the old Raiders with what's his name? Well, didn't Manning coach the Raiders? Was it the Raiders?
Yeah, yeah. Madden
Madden
was the
did.
coach in that game,
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah,
Yeah, they was playing the Dolphins.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, definitely we've got
yeah.
that coming up on Wednesday, and we're also launching another show called 270. That's a political podcast. So that one's going to be interesting. We're going to start off the launching of that show with is it UAPs or UFOs? Is it a government conspiracy? You heard a lot of
I think it's
congressional
UAP.
test.
I think it's UAPs now.
Yeah, yeah, they don't want to call it UFOs, but it was quite interesting this past week with the
You know, I
congressional.
I I watched a lot of they had the hearing last week, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I watched a lot of it, and while I stayed awake, you watch it, you kind of fall asleep after a while, right? And then I Clayton Morris on the podcast called Redacted,
Uh huh.
he had expert on there, and I think we're into something here. I think there's they showed an alien video
Yeah.
that they took back in 91 or 90 something, early 90s, and we may not have any little green man running around, but I think we might have some alien spacecraft.
Well, we definitely have a few neighbors around the galactic neighborhood, that's for sure. I did learn a new word this week. I'd never heard the word biologics before, but it sure came out of the congressional testimony. So
Yeah, biologics.
apparently,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I think you got to stop and think about this. There's a O'Reilly is on Cuomo's show once or twice a week, right?
Uh huh.
And they do this point counterpoint deal,
Uh huh.
and they were talking about little green men and UAPs and all that. And O'Reilly had a good point. He says, "Why is it only the United States? Why isn't it Russia? Why isn't it Israel? Why isn't it some like Peru or somewhere,
Yeah.
or China? Why is always the United States?
Yeah.
And then I saw on the news that they reported the Russians said they had some too.
Yeah.
So,
Who
but
knows?
one of the most humorous deals about what O'Reilly said to Cuomo was that, you know, if they come down here, the aliens come down there, they'll try to make socialists out of them. Okay. And I want to know how come they're not paying taxes,
Right.
because that's the first thing the Democrats will want to do is to have him pay taxes. Okay,
Right. Or landing fees, at least.
for landing fees. Yeah. So I thought, oh, Cuomo almost lost it. He was laughing so loud. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah. All righty. So we've got that show coming up on Thursday. We've got a new co host joining the team. He's actually from San Antonio. So he's going to be my hard right alternative. And so it'll be
A,
interesting to
co-
see.
a conservative from San Antonio. That is. So he's the one.
He's the one.
He's the one. There's one conservative in San Antonio, so
Yep.
he's the one.
He's the one. All righty. Everybody, well, this was Doug's Dugout, episode number 8. Follow us next week as Doug brings us another recap of the MLB. Once again, we've got 2 exciting shows coming up this week, and we will see you next week. Doug, as always, thank you for giving us a rundown, and we will see you next week.
Okay, Daddy. We'll
All
see you
right,
next week, guy.
head out to the Green
Bye
Monster
bye.
now.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna probably get on the bike too. So
Yeah. All righty,
yeah,
Doug. Have a good Sunday.
I got a shock. I got a new shock absorber. I got a new seat, not a new seat, but a bike post
Yeah.
from the manufacturer. It's got a shock absorber on the post, so when you go over a bump, because these roads in Rancho are so bad, you know, we probably got the best roads in Cameron County out here in Rancho. No speed bumps or anything.
Yeah.
But so when you go over a bump, and I had to go through I had to hear that from the diva, like, oh, you spending all that money on that bike and da 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 da, don't you spend any more money on that bike, so,
Yeah.
but anyway, I got that put on, so
Yeah.
we're good shape, and it actually works pretty good.
That's good. All righty,
Yeah.
everybody. That's it for today. Doug, have a great Sunday.
Okay, Dan. See you later.
Bye
Goodbye,
bye.
everybody.
Bye bye.